Hi and welcome to the stress check. Before you go through the checklist and see if you have any of the signs and symptoms that your body or brain isn't coping with stress, I just want to give you an introduction to how the stress response works and why these symptoms might be appearing in your life. So first of all, just need to understand that if you're here, you're probably either a high achiever, someone who's out there, you're pushing your comfort zone, you're doing things perhaps outside what you would normally do. You might be starting a business, you might be moving from a paid job to being an entrepreneur, or perhaps you're just experiencing stressful events in your life going on at the moment. And you've noticed that there's something that's not quite right. Perhaps you're hitting a glass ceiling in perhaps income or in achievement, or you've had goals for a long time and you just don't seem to be achieving them or getting to them as quickly as you'd like to. So what I want to explain here is how your stress response works and how that might be affecting your results and also affecting your health and happiness along the way as well. So first of all, what I want to do is talk about what is the stress response, what triggers it, and why it's there. Basically, we have evolved, our brains have evolved to keep us safe. Our brain's constantly scanning our environment, taking in inputs, whether that's through our eyes, through our ears, through our hands, the touch, or through our thinking, like the thoughts that are going on in our brains. And the brain is constantly assessing all these inputs that are coming in, and it's making a decision. Am I safe or am I not safe? And that's a really important thing to understand, because the actual reality of am I safe or am I not safe is up to your brain to decide. So two people can get exactly the same stimulus but have very, very different responses from their brains depending on their previous experiences or what's happening in their life right now, or their level of health right now, or their baseline level of stress right now. And that's what I want to talk about now, is the fact that we all have this baseline level of stress. Now, in a normal human life, say we've got, like in this chart, we've got a baseline level, stress level, and then a stressful event happens. So that shoots up a stress response. It basically is our brain saying, okay, we're not safe, we need to do something about this. So it might set off our adrenaline, it might set off cortisol running through our body. It sets in train the sympathetic nervous system and gets our body ready for fight, to fight off something, or flight, like run away. So it's tensing our muscles, it's doing all these things, it's shutting down our digestive system because we don't need that when we're fighting or running. It's doing all these chain of events through hormones, through the nervous system, to get our body ready to defend itself or save itself. Now, that's fine. So if there's a stressful event, we get all ready, we're all ready to go. Maybe we live through that stressful event, we run or we fight. And then after that stressful event is over, what's supposed to happen is we're supposed to come back down to that baseline level of, we're in a relaxed and calm state then, when there's nothing to stress us, there's nothing to worry about. Now, the problem happens is that in the society, in the life that we live now, there is so much input. There is constant news, there's constant negative feedback, there's a lot to think about, there's a lot to do, there's worries, we're looking forward, like we're looking ahead and worrying about the future, we're looking backwards and worrying about the past. There's a lot of negative thoughts, there's a lot of negative things that are fed into our brains if we're not careful. So with that going on, your brain actually, when it experiences a quite stressful event, instead of coming back down to that fully baseline level, it may never actually just return. It may just come about halfway back down and stay slightly elevated, because your brain's thinking, okay, that happened, but I'm not entirely safe yet. I need to remain on a bit of alert. So it keeps a level of alertness. Now, the problem from there is next time you have quite a stressful event, maybe you're late for work, or you've got an assignment due, or something unusual happens in your business and you get really worried about it. your stress response goes up, and then again, if it doesn't return, gradually we're getting a higher and higher and higher baseline level of preparedness, our body being ready to fight or ready to run. Now, and sometimes that level can actually end up being above your initial stress response level. So I want you to think about how that might affect your body if you're constantly in this alert and preparedness state for running or fighting. It's not going to do well for your health in the long term, because your body is constantly on that edge. And you might see in the list of symptoms that we're showing that you go through, you'll see that a lot of those are related to your body being prepared. Things like tension in your muscles. So if you get bad headaches or migraines, often that is due to a lot of tension in your muscles, your neck muscles, your shoulder muscles. You might wake up feeling really stiff and sore in the morning, especially in the lower back. Again, it's that, think about those muscles. They're getting you ready to either fight, they're tense here, or they're ready to run. You might find that you have trouble digesting things. You're suddenly gluten intolerant, or you're having real trouble with your digestive system, gallbladder problems and things like that. You might find reproductive issues, fibroids and endometriosis and things like that. You might find, this is on a long-term basis, having that body in constant, slightly stressed response state. So that's really important to understand, that once you've got yourself into that level of higher kind of stress response, we need to do something about that. We can't let that keep going, because otherwise, obviously, if you're a high performer and a high achiever, you want to get out there and do things. You want to change things in your life. You want to achieve things. So you don't want to be constantly feeling anxious and wound up and tense. That's not helpful. The other thing that the stress response does is shut down your thinking processes. So when you really get frightened or stressed, often you can notice you'll get paralyzed. And at a lower level, that might just be procrastination, not wanting to do stuff because you're afraid of the outcomes and you're getting too anxious about it. So it's really interesting. I mean, you might not feel anxious or depressed or any of those things, but in the background, you can have that just low-grade stress response that's going to be affecting your results, affecting your ability to go out there and take risks and take on challenges and have a positive mindset. So it's really important to understand how much this stress response can affect you. So in saying that, how does this all come about? Well, basically, like I said before, you've got all these inputs coming into your brain, and it's really up to your brain. All those inputs are neutral. Things can happen, and it's not until your brain interprets that thing to say, okay, well, this is a safe thing. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about that. We can ignore that. Or this is an unsafe thing. This makes me feel frightened. This makes me feel like I need to get prepared. I'm not safe. And the center of your brain that does that and is in control of that response is your amygdala. And we nickname it the Miggy. Nickname it Miggy. Often talk to Miggy because Miggy is your amygdala is not logical. So this is the thing. You might think that you're in your control, or you think that, why would that be stressing me out? I don't even know why that's a problem. It's because your amygdala operates at a deep subconscious level. You don't necessarily have conscious control over why it's making those decisions until you purposely go in and start reprogramming your brain and your responses and training Miggy. It's like a little puppy. You can think of Miggy like a little puppy who's a little bit nervous, a little bit, assessing, am I okay? Is this all safe? Again, maybe having overreactions sometimes. And the problem is, if you don't train your amygdala, it can get out of control. It can have responses that are disproportionate and irrational, even though you think, why am I stressing about this? Why is this even a problem? But at some deep level, your brain and your amygdala is interpreting this situation or these signals as unsafe, and it's triggering off that fountain of effects, releasing all these hormones, tensing all these muscles, shutting down your parasympathetic nervous system, which controls all your digestion and your reproduction and all those things. the results are far reaching. So it is important to understand that this response can really affect your results in life as well. And we need to be aware that when we're having these signs and symptoms, that this can be an indication that our brains or our bodies are not coping with the stresses that we're experiencing in our life. And that sucks when you want to go out there and achieve things and do things, and your body or your brain is the one that's holding you back. So it's really important to recognize when you have these and understand that, okay, it's all right to have these responses, and it's really valuable to find out, okay, wow, obviously something's going on here. That's the great place to be at, because then from there you can actually do something about it. And I know you can do something about it based on huge body of research and work that has now been done in these areas of neuroscience and psychology, which shows how you can actually retrain your brain so that it doesn't have that irrational or over response to certain stimuluses. And that is really, really good news. It's really exciting news. And I know that it works because I've brought myself back from a point where I was having panic attacks about tiny things to being now completely back to where I was before, confident, happy, enjoying life, and being able to push forward and do the things that I really want to do in life. So this is a process that first step is to actually just recognize, am I experiencing any of these stress responses? So next, when you finish the video, go through that checklist and be really brutally honest with yourself, because that's the most important step, recognizing when you do have a problem and that this might be holding you back from really achieving the results that you want to achieve in your life. And then you take the next step, which is actually do something about it. And the exciting thing is you can, and we know you can. So that's how I created Prava, with those 5 elements that I found were the most effective in order to reprogram your amygdala, your brain, to reinterpret these responses. Even if they're responses you don't even know why or what you're having to, you can change certain thought patterns and make a massive difference to the way your brain is interpreting these stimuli that are coming in, and actually change your whole outlook on life and the way that you can approach things. So you can actually grow your wealth, your health, your happiness, and do that with a sense of ease and contentment, being in that nice, relaxed state. So being able to high achieve, high perform, while still having that wonderful ability to relax and feel the contentment. Because as you go forward in your journey, at some point you want to enjoy those wonderful things that you're creating in your life. So you actually need to practice how to do that, to sit back, kick back, really recognize what you've achieved and be able to enjoy the wonderful things that you've created in your life as well. So go through the checklist, see if there's some hidden things in there that are making a difference, and maybe putting a ceiling on what you're able to achieve right now. And then the next step is do something about it, whether that's doing some of my free processes that you can sign up for today, or stepping on and doing the full 12-week transformation and really learning how to master your own mind and take control of your destiny by reprogramming your brain.